So today's video will run through my property portfolio, past, present and future. Now the reason I'm shooting this video is because it was the most commonly asked question you guys asked me over on Instagram, and I've been promising to have it out for, well, quite some time now. I've kind of delayed the process because I don't really like speaking too much about myself, but you've asked for it, so hopefully you guys watch it. So let's get started. Now, I remember when I used to be a personal trainer, or when I first started to go to the gym, the most common question people would always ask me back then was, how much do you bench? And I guess when you label yourself as a property investor online, it's common practice for people to ask, how big is your portfolio? How many houses do you have? How much are you worth? Etc, etc. Now, full transparency, I don't think you guys should ever put people on a pedestal based on their net worth. I think character and integrity far outweighs someone's net worth. But I also know that I kind of need to answer this question, so people can literally stop asking me. Also, hopefully, as I explain this, it will make you recognize that it's not all about the figures and more about what you actually have in terms of your portfolio. But more on that later. So with that, let's get going. Now, as of recording this video, I am very close to turning 35. So let's roll back the years to when I was 25. My first ever property. My first ever property was purchased at 25, and there's a video here if you want to see it, where I purchased a single let. And I spoke in that video about the motivated seller and the transaction. So if you want to learn about that, please check it out. Now, this was purchased in the most simple way of getting a 25% deposit and buying a property on a buy-to-let mortgage and renting it out. P.S. This wasn't mommy or daddy's money either. I had a very good job in London at the time, and with a combination of savings since my first job at 15, it helped me buy this house. My next purchase after this was a long time after, where I purchased a residential home with the wife, as you can see here. Now, we bought this by putting down a fair sum of deposit, and like a numpty, I actually sold my first buy-to-let that you've just seen to allow myself a larger deposit and less of a mortgage for our residential. Now, knowing what I know now, I would have retained that property because it went up in value and never had a void. Plus, the repayment on my residential in the grand scheme of things would have been supplemented with the cash flow from that buy-to-let. So it's a big mistake here in that I sold an investment home far too soon. My next transaction was passing on a deal, which wasn't something I owned, obviously, but it was a finder's fee I'd got from finding my own deal, but I couldn't execute on it at that time. And sometimes in this game, just because it's not a deal for you or you can't take it, doesn't mean somebody else won't take it from you. I then moved on and purchased another buy-to-let, which was one of the best houses on the road and not too far from where I live. Now, I got this for £80,000 and it rented for £650 initially. And if I had known how good a deal this was, just for a straight vanilla buy-to-let, I would have tried to buy the road, because prices have obviously risen there, and it's close to a hospital and has great transport links too. It was a 2-bed mid-terraced house with a conservatory and a man cave and even a loft conversion. It was really, really big and surprising inside. I then moved on and purchased my nightmare home in Stake, which I talk about over here in regards to some of the mistakes. So please don't make the same mistakes as me, and if you are looking to flip and you're going to be buying something further away, then check out that video. Now, after this, I purchased the property I think I spoke about in my BRR project, and this was the first time I actually used bridging finance, and I tried the BRRR model, and it worked a treat. It's one of my best purchases. I then went on to purchase a 4-bed HMO. Now, without diving too much into that, there's a video over here about HMOs and why I wouldn't recommend 4-bed HMOs. In my opinion, they're one void away from destroying your cash flow. If one person leaves and then you've got a changeover, which isn't always as smooth or as quick, you're literally destroying your return on investment. So I would obviously, depending on income, of course, go for a 5-bed as a bare minimum, so that if one person leaves, you are still cash flowing positive, as bringing in a tenant isn't always a quick job and it can take a bit of time. I then purchased a 9-bed HMO, and this was from an auction. It was a 6-bedroom house with a 3-bedroom annex. After this, I had bought a family home with family members which has no debt. After this, I then joint ventured on a planning uplift for a project in Mansfield. We was offered 100% return on our investment and it was just shy of 6 figures. The planning was passed and that investment was honoured, but more on that in another video coming very soon because it's a very, very good strategy. Following this, I then purchased a commercial site, and this was an NHS site we purchased, converted to 10 flats under permitted development, and we also title splitted the car park, but more on that in a moment. Next up, we purchased a house just outside of Glasgow, which you can see in a video over here. And this was a simple BRRR project that we've got a slight delay on getting a mortgage for at the minute, so it's currently unencumbered and rented out. Moving on from this, I then signed on my largest deal ever. We brought out some shareholders for the largest property deal that I've done to date, or will be doing, with a GDV of a conservative figure of £2.6 million, which we should be starting very, very, very soon. So videos and vlogs coming on that soon as well. Now, it was possible to purchase many other properties in the interim, but opting to move on to 3 big larger deals in the last 18 months, the planning uplift, the title split and the 2.6 million, which has cost around $250,000 in investment, I figured I would try and go big and delay the gratification. Now, I know the smaller deals work, but if you can execute and deliver on the larger ones, the cash pot will simply be large enough to allow us to do BRRs all day, every day. But I know I still have some way to go. But that, my good friends, is a track record of, I think, most of my property ins and outs. But it should hopefully give you some confidence that I think I know what I'm talking about, and I've had a lot of experience. Plus, I got a 5-year degree in construction project management, and I've done a hell of a lot of renovations for clients. So if you found any of this useful, or you made it this far, it would be really appreciated if you could smash that like button to maybe let the algorithm know about this channel, and it will also make a grown man like me smile inside too. And once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day when you guys could have been doing anything, and I look forward to seeing you next time.